Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Hey, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Good. Try again. Good morning and welcome. Seems right away they want to take my picture off. Anyway, this is a live podcast, and I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host, and here we are to fight CPS and hang on to our children. I know it's a hard thing to be faced with CPS because it is a very, very complex maze of twists and turns. You're like the Alice in the Wonderland. You've fallen in the rabbit hole and you met the Chester cat and you're directed to go here, to do this, to go here, to do that, to do this. It's ups and downs. And my experience and experience of over 900 people I've talked to on here for the last 15 months has been they automatically take your children, whether in danger or not. They automatically want to adopt your children because money, it's all about money. It's $1 trillion business. The money frees fully from the federal government to the state, down to the counties. Every state and every county has what I call a CPS system, a child protection system. And those systems are various names, but they have one thing in common. They're supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse. And a lot of times that doesn't happen, and then they're overzealous, take parents that are in hardships, that maybe have had a financial difficulty, a loss of a job. This is hard economic times. And it's hard to survive out there with a family. And, you know, it isn't easy. I've raised 6 children. I have 41 years of marriage. I've been through a lot of life skills. Unfortunately, it happened to me at the age of 60 when I lost my job through no fault of my own after working for 45 years. I started getting pestered by CPS. They would do what they call their investigation. The problem being with CPS is right off the bat, they believe everything they hear either from lay people or from professionals. Those are the two kinds of people that call in. Layperson or professional. They'll call in and they'll say, so-and-so is hurting so-and-so, or so-and-so is neglecting so-and-so. And most of the time, the professionals are right on. Professionals have been trained or know how to report and how to look what is danger for the kids. But the lay people, it seems a lot of them, I'd probably say half of them, use the CPS as a tool to help them with their uh, whatever sick way of mind of retaliation against a spouse or retaliation against the family, or um, it is horrible. I heard so many stories. I too have experienced the worst, and I know what it is to lose a child and to fight CPS. And what I've discovered are 5 rules that would help you. I've heard back from people that they do help you. So what I'm doing this morning is to give you a warm welcome and tell you there is a place here for you to, talk about your CPS case to help you. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father and a husband, and I try my best. I try my best to take care of my family. But I'm here to share my story and to help you and answer your questions and direct you. It isn't a fun thing to go through CPS. It's your worst nightmare. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a professional to fight with you. You need someone that has experience in juvenile, family, and dependency law. Someone who has fought CPS and won and gotten their children back. And, someone who's also, even gone a step further and did a civil lawsuit, and won millions of dollars. That someone, by the way, is Vincent W. Davis, the person you just heard at the beginning of my podcast. He's here to help you. He's here if you want to retain him as a professional lawyer with over 39 years' experience. He's a trial attorney, and he's won back, and he is a really great attorney. He's based out of Arcadia, California, but he'll practice law anywhere. He has cases in Oklahoma, cases in Northern California. His office is Arcadia, out of south of Los Angeles. And he's fought in Orange County, which is the county that I was fighting my case in. He has been my attorney. I did hire him. He's fought in San Bernardino, Riverside, and he in LA County. So he has lots of cases, and he's helped lots of people. But you need somebody like that. Now, I do this podcast twice a day, Monday through Friday. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, and again at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I broadcast this from the west coast of California at Surf City, USA, 3 blocks from the ocean. And it is from my home, and I really want to help you. Want you to feel you're welcome. I've had so many people come back, start a little family here. They call me Uncle Bob. But you all are very blessed because you're in this room because you care about your children. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care. Now, there is sometimes parents make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. But apparently CPS has taken upon themselves to capitalize on your mistakes for the sole purpose of earning that mighty dollar of the money. So I know it's a hard thing to go through. It really is. It's a very hard thing to go through. There's so many twists and turns. But I know I can help you. I've been on the show now for 15 months. I've done this podcast twice a day for 15 months. Now, I'm on a little bit early Saturday and Sundays. I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. And there are several ways you can participate in this podcast. One is just by being in this room. There is emojis, and I already have a thank you for somebody. Hassan Mum. All right, thank you, Hassan Mum, for the thumbs up. That's great. You got thumbs up and smiley faces and hearts. You can also send me stars. And then on top of that, you can check the button below and follow me. And if you want to be notified when I be on the show, click the notification button. But a second way is all you have to do is text a message about what you want. A question or a comment about CPS. We all hear about CPS, the Child Protection Systems. All I ask is that when you text in a message to me in the chat of the podcast, I'm using YouTube to transmit, and I'm using StreamYard as the application, is that you show your first name. It's easy for me to address you, to talk to you, your city or your county the case was in, and the state. Furthermore, if you're from another country, you're more than welcome, because right now I have a new country. Yesterday, I have 21 countries. I have Indonesia, Bangladesh, India. In the Middle East, I have Liberia and Saudi Arabia. In Africa, I have Libya. And then I have Rwanda and Mozambique, and then 4 provinces in South Africa. Then going up to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, and Wales, and I've also had Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, I have North America. I have 4 provinces in Canada. 50 states have all talked in here, including the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., which is not a state, but they've called in here too. And then south of the border, I have Mexico. And then in South America, I have Grenada. And then across the Pacific, I have New Zealand and then Australia. I've had Queensland and Victoria, the 2 states there, the Gold Coast and the Melbourne area. So it's well divided in this room. You'll find people from all walks of life. But the one thing they all have in common, is they love their children and they want their families back together. They want their families back together. And there's a way, there is a mechanism. There are steps in CPS that you need to follow. And one of the hardest things you all be facing with is you have to secure a professional to fight your case. And the problem being is that it is like open heart surgery. It's so difficult to fight CPS. They lie. They're not your friend. All they think about is money. I mean, it's so rich with money. It's trillions of dollars. In fact, in 94, when President Clinton signed into law the Incentive Act, CPS is rewarded if they get them adopted into foster care. They don't think about reunification. You see, the child protection system is supposed to protect your children from neglect and abuse. But if the child is in immediate danger, they need to break the family apart and fix the family and do reunification, because studies have shown the best parents are the biological parents. So I'm telling you, is that this isn't your friend, this agency. They're going to lie to you so bad and deceive you. I've had countless cases of people being tormented up and down. And I have my own case. My own case is horrible. And I speak from experience. The third way you can participate in this podcast is by being a guest. You know, you can be a guest. I can take 9 of you. I've had 2 or 3 of you before. It was great. I had 2 people from Canada and a person from Michigan all talking and helping one another. Now, I have a show producer. Her name is Grace. She works really hard behind the scenes. I want to thank her. And she will schedule your time on the podcast. All you have to do is let her know, I want to be Bob's one of his 14 podcasts. And it's Sunday through Monday, 7 days a week. And it's either 10 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night. Now, remember, on the weekends, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And you tell her what show you want to be on, and she'll send you a link. The link will go to StreamYard, which is the application we use. and we use YouTube to transmit. And that link is good. Even if you get bounced off, use that link again. And she will tell you what to do and not to do. Now, lastly, the fourth way is you can call in. My phone number is up on the screen as 626-698-0990. And you can make that call, and you can talk to me. It's my direct line to my phone. It's my office phone number. And you will get connected there. Now, I can only talk during my show hours. I can only talk to my show hours. When you do call in, I'll be putting you on speakerphone so everybody can hear. So this is the fourth way, and I'll leave my phone number up for a period of time there. Now, some important other things. There is another number on the screen, 888-888-6582. That's the law office of Vincent W. Davis. And there you can get him directly if you want to be retained. All I ask is when you call into the office is that you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. Make sure you get the name of the person you talked to. Because I want to know if you weren't answered your call or answer your request, or they didn't call you back. I need to know that. Also, you can get other attorneys. He has other fields you might need help in. You might need help in immigration. You might need help in a legal matter or a divorce matter. You might need help, with real estate or an injury or workplace. Anyway, he has an attorney that help you with all your legal needs. Also, you can ask for a new guide that's out. It's called the Grandparent Guide for Guardianships. And also see your grandchildren. It's a step-by-step guide. It's also good for parents too and other people. But it's only $9.99. And I have a code that you can use and get it for half off for $4.99. You just use the code capital P, capital A, capital C, capital E. That's PACE 50. PACE 50. And you can get the guide for $4.99. And it's a really great guide. It'll lead you down the road, the steps as grandparents. Also helps out parents too. So you should look at that. That guide there. Anyway, there's another thing. I have a banner going across the bottom of my screen. I made special arrangements with my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, that if you go to that website that's transmitting across the bottom of the screen, and you can get 30 minutes of a free consultation with Mr. Davis. That's 30 minutes. And the charge is $60, and you can get that free to get that consultation with Mr. Davis for $60. Now, even better yet, if you call in or you're a guest on my podcast, I'll get you 15 minutes with Mr. Davis at no charge. That's a Zoom meeting. All you have to do is when I ask you if you want to talk to Mr. Davis for a private Zoom, you just say yes or no, and then I will give you what you need to do to get that free 15 minutes. So there's a lot of help here. Vincent Davis has workshops and podcasts. On the weekend at 10 o'clock, he has questions and answers with Mr. Davis. Then during the weekday, he has the office hours. It's another podcast he does. We also have other people like A.K. Richardson, Akima Richardson, who's out of Brooklyn, New York. She's a CPS victim herself, but she has a show, CPS victims like herself, with another fine lady, Deidre, that they co-host the show. There's also Mrs. G has a podcast too. So there's a lot of help. through Mr. Davis. You just have to take it and look at it and digest it. You're going to have to make the decision. You have to make the decision. Now, sometimes we start off with a lot of text messages. Sometimes we start off with a phone call. The room varies day to day, month to month, and year to year. But it's important that you understand the 5 rules that I've come up with. Because if I did follow them or did them, I would never have lost my daughter. You know, what happened in my case was in 2010, I'd lost my job through no fault of my own. I was going through horrible things at the age of 60. And it's a hard thing to do when you work as long as I have. At that time, I'd worked 45 years. I'm now up to 60 years of working. And right now, I'm looking for a full-time career job again because I just cannot make it with the way the economy is and everything. Your Social Security doesn't cover very much. I almost think it's like unemployment. They give you enough money for stamps and envelopes and make copies of your resumes, but they don't give enough money for you to pay your bills, your living bills and stuff. And that's another thing I'd like to point out about CPS. Not only supposed to do family and protect your children, they're supposed to do give you aid in food and shelter and clothing and transportation and medical and educational and even get you a job. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing. So I know where you're coming from. And I do want to help you. I do want to help you. Hello, Acot and Tim Acot. Good morning, or I don't know where you're from, but besides your first name, can you give me the location, the city, the state, the county, or if you're from another country, the province, or some countries have states, and your country? I'd like to help you. I'd like to help you, and a warm welcome. A warm, warm welcome. Okay. From South Sudan. Oh, welcome. Boy, that's a new country. I got to learn my geography. Well, welcome from South Sudan. I think you're in the continent of Africa, if I'm not mistaken, South Sudan. And I want to give you a welcome there. And you probably have a CPS question in that country, and I'll try to help you. You know, it's interesting. People look up the word CPS and they somehow find me, which, you know, I guess with 2 shows a day for 15 months, going on tomorrow will be the 16th month. Wow, 16 months. I started in October of 23, and I've missed a date yet. I've not missed a date yet. Mm. 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 Huh. Mm. It's an Eastern African country. What does CPS mean? All right, you may have missed my intro, but CPS, what I call CPS, stands for the Child Protection System. It's a government agency that's supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse. In the United States, we have over 500,000 children that are being investigated for child abuse. It's where a child is hurt through physical abuse or a child is abandoned through neglect. And what it does is supposed to protect our children and families. But what's happened is that some of the child protection agencies, which are called like Department of Children's Services, the Child Protection Services, or Department of Children's Services, DCS, or in Richmond, Kentucky, it's called the Cabinet. But if you type in and you Google the word CPS, you'll find it. But it's supposed to protect our children, but it's becoming very rogue and bad in the United States, and I think in other countries too. I've heard horrific stories from Canada and from Africa. Horrific stories. I can't go into details because of the advertisements for the show. You can't talk about certain things. But it's what I'm doing. I'm a tool to try to help you navigate through CPS and get your children back. The agency has very recently decided, or not recently, but they want to take your children. We had a problem with the Native American Indians, who were the first immigrants into North America from Asia. And for 100 years, from 1875 to 1978, the child protection system was always taking Indian children and have them adopted. They had no family reunification. So a law was passed, ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, that said that the agency, the child protection system, wherever the agency is in every state or county, must determine if the child is a Native American Indian. Or in Canada, it's called the First Nation people. The Indias tribe there in Canada, tribes in Canada. They too have a similar act too. So what that all means is if they can be registered with one of the 548 tribes in the United States, or they already are registered and a member of the tribe, then they can be turned over to the tribe reservation and then placed in a family home, an Indian family home, to be reunified with their loved ones. So it can be a really complicated thing there, ACOC, but it's a government protection agency. It's supposed to protect our children and bring families back together and do reunification. But I'm afraid certain counties in certain states and in certain countries have either lost the expertise or they discovered that money is more important than families. I don't know why they put well, I know why they put the emphasis on money, because bonuses and incentives are nice. If you're a worker and the person's going to give you a couple $1,000 for, fighting the case, you're going to be, enthused to keep doing that. So that's what it's all about. It's supposed to add protection and help families get back together when they have bad hiccups. So hopefully that answers your question. And again, I thank you from Sudan. Right now, to all my listeners out there, we have a gentleman from Sudan, which is in Africa, which is my newest African group here. And I'm so glad to hear from you, because Africa is going through a civil unrest right now. Again, there always goes civil unrest. And I hope Rwanda, they went through a horrible one in 94, where over 1 million people were murdered and slaughtered, and over 500,000 women were raped. And it was bad. It was bad. Now they say that Sudan is going through a civil war too, I guess. Khartoum is the capital. Their flag is blue stripe, yellow stripe, and a green stripe. And they have various cities there. Let me see here. I'm trying to zoom out. Now there's South Sudan, which is both African and Arab country, and it's Arabic being the most widely spoken language. About 97% of the population are Sunni Muslims, with a Christian minority. That's about 2.4%. I can't believe, but they say 1 million people a year are born. That's a lot of people. Now, Sudan is the meeting point of the Nile and the White Nile. Now, the child protection area of responsibility, and they call it the CP or AOR, is part of the protective cluster in Sudan. The protective cluster coordinates production and efforts in emergency response to the needs of people affected by conflict and disasters. So they have a CPS in Sudan, and there's a lot of violence and abuse and exploitation to go to the children. So I know the UN through UNICEF have been helping out the feeding of Sudan. Now in Sudan, they say that child protection and peace for children is quite a challenge. There are 23 million children in Sudan. They're exposed. About 64% of the children below the ages of 14 years. There are 18 states in Sudan. It's really an interesting country, and I'm glad to have our gentleman from Sudan talk about CPS. And I'm glad to have you here. Now, as I said, if you have a CPS matter, you need some help, all you do is text me, and I will help you with that. Now, one of my rules that I have is the very important rule is that you need a very important tool to fight CPS because they are corrupt. They will lie to you. They're not transparent. There's no watchdog of them. They're allowed to run free. And that tool is a lawyer. And what I mean by that, it's a special lawyer. It's like open heart surgery. You need a special doctor to open your heart and take it out and work on it. A lay person cannot do open heart surgery. You cannot do open heart surgery. It has to be done by a professional. The same thing is true with a lawyer and protecting your children and getting your children's rights or get your children back. And that's why I want you to at least talk to 3 lawyers before you make a decision. And there are 2 very important questions you want to ask these lawyers. The first question is, are you licensed and trained in the area of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law? And you fought CPS and got the children back. If the answer is yes, then the second question is, after the case is closed, have you ever filed a civil lawsuit against CPS and won back monies? Now, if the answer is yes to both those questions, that's where you want to start with. You need to get the references that will support this good attorney, because too many of you are wasting money. I've heard of you giving $80,000 to an attorney that knew nothing about CPS. You have to be careful. Also, there's another area that you seem to misunderstand the intentions of CPS. If you don't have an attorney by law, it's a civil rights matter, an attorney will be appointed in your behalf. It's a public defender, a court-appointed attorney. The trouble is in CPS, these court-appointed attorneys or public defenders work for CPS. They do not work for you unless you kick them in the seat of the pants and have them work. They are not trained in juvenile law or family law or dependency law. And they certainly won't fight the case because they have 30 more clients themselves. And they're run by CPS. They're paid by CPS and hired by CPS. So it's really sad that you put your life in the hands of somebody like this because they're not going to fight. most of the time you're going to lose your case and lose your child to foster care. And foster care is really, really bad too. It's not a pleasant place to be in foster care. They've been corrupt. Now, I don't mean all CPS and all foster care are corrupt, just like I don't think all police are corrupt. But apparently a lot of the police and social workers are corrupt in all the different states. Every state I've heard from the United States, and all have said the same thing. CPS is corrupt. Welcome, Brenda Hughes. My cousin had DCF come in and take her child with no warrant. Well, that's another thing. A lot of you have to recognize about how children are abducted or taken from their homes. You see, we as parents don't know how CPS works or how the abduction of children work. It's all very new to me. When I first got approached by CPS, I didn't know who they were. I didn't know what they did. All I know, I was gotten harassed calls every week after week for 5 years. My in-laws were the ones reporting the claim. And it was sad because they were trying to undermine our family, take our children away. They've always been like that. For 31 years, I've seen that happen. Where the in-laws don't support the marriage or support the family or support, if we're going through hard times or tough times. They don't want to help out. Instead, they want to break apart. They want to alienate the children from the parents. I mean, there's so many cases. I mean, of these 6 children, 2 of them were really, really hurt. So it's like you got to be careful. Now, I have this new person, Brenda Hughes. I would like to know where you're located. I have Apku Atin Apku from Sudan, and I do welcome him. Sudan, I just can't believe that many children are abused in Sudan. 23 million children a year. A football stadium holds 100,000 people. It just comprehends me to hear 23 million children are abused. We have over 1 million children in the United States, but 23 million, that's an astronomical thing there. I know that in the country of Rwanda, that they had a civil war and over 1 million people were slaughtered and killed, but that doesn't seem like a drop in the bucket with a lot of these countries. I mean, it's really, it's very, very, very hard. It's very difficult. So, Brenda, you're talking to me further there. Can she go take her child? What will happen if she takes her child and runs? Well, here's the problem. She gave permission to have her child taken. All she had to do is say, I can't speak to you. I need to speak through my attorney, or don't answer the door. But when she answers the door and hands her children at their request, it means you grant them permission. So no, she can't go and re-kidnap her child. CPS has kidnapped her child because they took advantage of your friend who didn't know any better. So what you need to do is you need to get an attorney. That's what my rule number 1 is about. And you need to get quotes from 3 different attorneys. It is a lot of money. The attorneys that are appointed to you by the court are no good. Now, if you want to go pro se, which means you're going to fight your case on your own, good luck. Because these people are highly skilled child trafficking individuals. They know how to traffic your child. They know how to steal your child. And then not only that, they put them in a foster care system that abuses the child. Again, I can't go into details of what they do because I have advertisements for this podcast. And I guess the things I do talk about, I can't talk about here on the podcast. But they have horrible things that children go through, horrible things that you can imagine. Now, Brenda says she's in Florida. She needs help now. Well, you tell your friend in Florida to come to my show. I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week, and I'll help your friend from Florida. I'll try to tell you the 5 rules that would have helped me with saving my children and also any other questions she may have. But she needs help. You cannot CPS alone. You cannot deal with CPS alone. They will lie to you. They're not transparent, and they retaliate. That's one thing I learned, how bad they are. My wife and I had a beautiful daughter. She was 12 at the time, and her sister and husband were trying to adopt our daughter. And we didn't want that to happen. And luckily we had Vincent W. Davis there, and he was in the court talking to the social worker under oath. And he asked the social worker, are these parents, my wife's sister and husband, great parents for our daughter? And the social worker said yes. Now, our attorney was going somewhere with this. He then asked the social worker, have they ever had domestic violence? And the social worker said, no domestic violence. They're beautiful people. Well, then Mr. Davis, my attorney, took out an envelope from his briefcase that contained 30 reports of domestic violence between my wife's sister and her husband. Not only were they domestic violence or arguing and so forth, they're physical, where they're beating each other. Now, that's not the environment you want to put a child in there. So she lied. She committed perjury on the stand. And when you commit perjury, you open yourself to a lawsuit. And I could sue her. My wife and I could sue her. But we were told it'd take $50,000, and we were just spent on money. We had spent hundreds of thousands of getting our 2 boys back. So my 3 children were taken. And it took 3 years, from 2015 to the end of 2017, to get our 2 boys back. And they're beautiful boys. They work hard. They're in college. They do good grades in school. In fact, our daughter is a good daughter too. She's just misguided. She's always been like that through her life. She's always been like that. And what happens, a social worker told our 12-year-old what to do. Get a divorce from the parents. That means emancipate, not only from the parents, but from her 3 brothers, her 2 sisters, and her grandparents. Both sets of grandparents were living at the time. And also the aunts and cousins and uncles. All that she threw away. And she was told to erase her name, and she had a beautiful middle name. Hanalei is a beautiful middle name. And then she was told to seal her birth certificate and get a new birth certificate stating her new grandparents were her parents. And then to get a second Social Security card, which she took out duplicate funds from social services. She had the first card and now the second card. She was double dipping. And by the way, those funds came from my Social Security account. That was money that I earned over my last 60 years of working. See, when you work, money is taken from you and put into the federal coffers. Now, that money from everybody collects interest. The interest the government makes off that money uses to run the government. You don't get that interest. That money sits in there, and it's dispersed, whether in the form of Social Security to retired people or to SSI, which our daughter was getting SSI. In fact, if you have a child and you're over the age of 60, you get additional Social Security income. And now I'm 75, and I'm still very bitter about what's happened to our daughter, what's happened to our family. There are a lot of beautiful things in our family. We once had a beautiful home. We lost it thanks to CPS. We lost my credit rating score dropped. We've had to move into a small little place, cramped, with noisy neighbors, it's no privacy. Being a homeowner is a little bit more privacy than being an apartment dweller. And that environment really, it depresses you. It depresses you. Talking about this matter is really hard too. Talking about it. Hi, Felicia, and welcome. Felicia is cruel, and she's from Ventura, California. No, I've been going for about 50 minutes, Cruel. I have about 9 minutes left. Cruel. Good to see you again. We've had Brenda Hughes talking about her friend in Florida has a case. And then we have a new country, Sudan, which is in Eastern Africa near the Nile River. Sudan is a sort of an arid country, but they have 23 million children that have been abused or hurt or shamed. They have some old customs and old ways that hurt the children. You know, there's a lot of disfiguration going on with children and a lot of abuse that goes on with children. I can't go into details because the show doesn't allow that to me because we have sponsors, and so I can't talk about the details. But that gentleman is cute Aben Akuk. It's Agok, and then it's Atem Agok. Akuk, Atem Akuk. I probably pronounced it wrong, and I'm sorry there from Sudan. But we've had 3 people this morning. It's great to hear from you. We've had other people in the room that don't say anything, but they're in here. We have about 10 people listening. And I was talking about rule number 1, which is get that attorney. That is so important. I wish I did. I tried to use the court-appointed attorney, and it was a hopeless cause. They don't fight for your case. They don't talk to you. Once you're represented by an attorney in Orange County, in the courts there, the dependency court, you're not allowed in the courtroom. Everything goes through your attorney. So it is really kind of hard. So how you doing, Cruel? How's your mom doing? I know you lost your home, and everything's going downhill, and your babies you're not seeing for so long. What's new, Cruel? Talk to me. You know, I have many people in here that have been in here day after day that go through so much. I have another lady from Canada named Lori Hillner, who for 15 months didn't say anything except sat in the room. She did emojis, and finally the other day she talked into what her situation is. And it's a terrible situation. It's so terrible some parents can't talk about it. I know what it is. Now I have about 5 minutes left of the show before I have to quit. It's almost 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. In fact, it is 11 o'clock. So that means I got to wrap up the show. I don't know why that was on there. My computer's doing funny things. But I want to thank you all for listening. And hopefully you'll look at my other shows and see the 5 rules that I have. Not only the rule about picking an attorney, but keeping your documents. Organize your documents. Say no to CPS and the police. Not opening your door. Not letting them in your home. not letting them take your child away unless they have a warrant. There's also medical trafficking. And then there is the internet, my rule number 4, and how to find somebody or find some information, a format way. And then the 5th one is collecting all your important documents, making comment. So those rules are explained to you in my other video podcasts. And there's other stories about other families doing other things. So please come back tonight. I'll be on at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And don't give up. Keep fighting. You eventually get your child back. So God bless y'all. And there'll be a brief message from Vince at the end of my show following my departure. So take care and do not give up. Keep fighting for it. This is Bob Pace signing off.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Faith, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.